welcome to the Right to Reason podcast. I'm your host, Robert Stanley. Today, liberal Newman Wolf and I brutally beat up on conservative Dallas Duff. It's not fair, but it is satisfying. Topics include Medicare for all, education, and the COVID-19 vaccine. Here we go.
Now they often call me Speedo, but my real name is Mr.
It's the Right to Reason podcast.
Sometimes I wonder.
This episode of the Right to Reason podcast is brought to you by our patrons and contributors like me. We have all recognized the value of the unrestrained marketplace of ideas and have decided to make a difference. You can make a difference too. Contribute at patreon.com/right and learn more about your right to reason at therighttoreason.com. Your activism is appreciated.
Dallas Duff, welcome back, sir.
Yo, what's happening?
Hey, where can everybody find your book?
Nowhere right now. Well, I've mostly just been selling it offhand, so it's not like I've put it up available online anywhere.
So they can just reach out to you on Facebook if they want to learn how to win every argument as a conservative. Did I get the title correct?
How to win every debate as a conservative.
That's it.
And yeah, it's just a little coffee table book. It's not like one of those like deep dive things, you know. It's kind of just a fun little kind of 20-minute read kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, even as a liberal, I enjoyed it. I got it over here on my bookshelf somewhere. I appreciate you sending that to me. But yeah, I like it because I read it and laugh, because I'm like, that's not a good argument, conservative, but I'm the liberal, right? I'll put Dallas's Facebook link in the show notes. Everybody can reach out to him that way. Today we are talking with Newman Wolf. You think Dallas is a shithead, right?
Yes,
He's an asshole.
I was pretty devoted to that standpoint, but now that I'm on the spot, I feel bad saying that. But yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Dallas
Likewise.
Dallas is a friend of mine, but we disagree about pretty much everything.
Sure.
So I noticed you guys having some back and forth online, and I was hoping that maybe you could talk it out today. I wanted to play you guys this clip and get your opinion on it.
The world feels pretty divided. Currently, 81% of both liberals and conservatives have unfavorable views towards those on the other side. But is there actually a fundamental biological difference between liberals and conservatives? On the surface, we can see some funny differences, like conservatives like meat and potatoes more, while liberals tend to like trying food from other cultures more. In general, conservatives prefer purebred dogs, while liberals prefer mixed breeds, and liberals are okay with free verse poetry, while conservatives prefer it to rhyme. But as we study more, we realize that the differences are much deeper. When put through MRI brain scans, it turns out that liberals are more likely to have a larger anterior cingulate cortex, which is associated with understanding and monitoring conflict, while conservatives have a larger right amygdala, which helps process fear and anxiety. And that makes sense, given the years of research that have shown people tend to become more conservative when they feel threatened or afraid. After 9/11, for example, the US became politically more conservative, with studies showing increased support for issues like national security and military spending. But studies have also found that conservatives and liberals employ different cognitive styles. Conservatives excel when it comes to more structured and organized problems or questions, whereas liberals tend to be more flexible and less likely to commit errors with questions involving conflicting information and requiring fast reaction times. One study looking at dorm rooms even found that, on average, conservative students' rooms were less messy than liberals. But they also experience pain in different ways, so much so that one study was able to predict who was liberal or conservative just by viewing brain scans of them looking at graphic photos containing mutilations. In this instance, liberal brains were more active in the S2 or somatosensory 2 region, which is normally activated when you're in pain, but also when you see someone else suffering. It's essentially scientific evidence for the bleeding heart liberal stereotype, which doesn't mean conservatives are uncaring, but that their minds just respond to graphic images differently. In America, this can explain how Democrats and Republicans perceive the world in fundamentally different ways. It's difficult to grasp how someone on the other side of politics thinks because we tend to overestimate the extent to which our opinions, beliefs, and values are normal. Psychologists refer to this as false consensus bias. For example, if you heard Yanny in the Yanny versus Laurel debate, it may have felt that you were the normal one and it was insane that anyone could be hearing Laurel. Apply this logic to politics and you can see why people have such polarizing ideas on issues like immigration, abortion, gun rights, etc. But where do these differences come from? One study revealed that genetics can account for around 30 to 40% of a person's political leanings, which may seem like a lot, but there are still many other important factors like your environment and personal experiences which play massive roles in your politics. Political neuroscience is a relatively new field of study with fascinating results, and in a world that's being increasingly characterized by its divisions, perhaps an important aspect of unity involves using neuroscience to better understand each other's differences.
Gentlemen, would you agree with that short little video? It seems to apply in my life, at least just from what I see as how conservatives and liberals act.
I mean, sure, from like an anecdotal standpoint of my own experience, etc. But I can't agree with, conservatives have a bigger right amygdala because I'm not a scientist, but
right.
Behaviorally, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Dallas, you're more scared than liberals are typically. Would you agree with that?
Not really. I mean, it seems whenever I look out into society, especially nowadays, with all the Corona stuff, like for right or wrong, it seems like the scared crowd definitely seems to be the left wing crowd. And I'm not saying there aren't specific areas where we could point to the right and say the right, scaremongers about stuff. Because I mean, I can objectively identify that, right? I think the right maybe sometimes does that with a little bit around like terrorism and certain other things. So I don't know. I mean, we would have to kind of list out the different areas and see who's more scared where. So no, I don't necessarily accept the premise. Maybe it's somewhat right, maybe it's not. But
you're definitely scared of the vaccine. I mean, on the right, there's way more. Like we could just look at percentages of vaccinations by state and see that all the redneck states are like in the 30s and 40s, and then all the more blue states are like in the 60s, and then some of the middle ones, like my state, like Texas, is in the 50s, low 50s.
Yeah. So that may be fair. I mean, I think the right may be a little bit more scared of the vaccine, but the left is a little more scared of the virus.
Well, that's it's an interesting thing because you have two groups that are scared of different sides of the same coin of COVID, and I'm not going to pretend that liberals aren't scared of COVID, but this is something I think about a lot, which is that lack of fear on the right of COVID, what's the word I'm looking for? Accurate, or is it born out of a lack of information, if that makes any sense?
And a lack of concern for others also, I think.
Sure. You're going in a lot harder than I am right off the bat.
But would you agree with that, at least, Dallas, that it's the right-wing people are a little less empathetic?
No, I don't agree with that at all.
Because, I mean, you guys don't give a shit about healthcare for others or
LGBTQ rights, immigration.
No, those are all total straw men of what the right, as a general rule. And I'll try to speak for myself as much as possible, but I mean, I think I speak for a fairly large percentage of the right. I mean, I don't agree with everybody on everything, obviously, on the right, but I mean, I think I'm fairly mainstream in my views. But yeah, the thing that annoys me the most in terms of these left and right issues is how often both sides, again, we'll throw a fair amount of blame around, both sides just don't have a lack of understanding of what the perspective is from the other side. So when you say conservatives or people on the right, don't care about these things, it's not that we don't care about these things. It's that we have assessed these things in a slightly different way. And we empathize, but we empathize in a slightly different way than how you think we should. It's so not that we...
Do you want universal health care for everyone?
I want everyone to get health care. I don't necessarily want the government to handle it primarily, because I don't think that they generally do a great job of these things. And I think these things are better handled by more market mechanisms, which, by the way, we don't currently have a free market in healthcare, which is something we almost never talk about. People think we have a free. We do not have a free market in healthcare. So
what do we have?
What we have is insane, really. And I don't even know exactly what to call it, because like a true functional market, you're able to walk into a place of business, and again, for better or worse, most healthcare providers, hospitals are places of business. You walk into any place of business, you know what the service costs that you're purchasing. The people selling you that service knows what it costs, and the people coming in for the service are able to shop around. Like there are other reasons, but that is a primary way of having a functional free market. You may get a Band-Aid for, $12,
Yeah. Or if you stay over, it's like $1,000. It's ridiculous pricing for sure.
Yeah. I mean, again, I want to try and draw some bridges here. I want to try and create some kind of bridge. Like, I think we can both agree that, like, the current healthcare we have is not the optimally best. We disagree on what the solution is to make it the best that it could be.
Well, the thing that I wonder about this, and I think about this in a lot of different facets of American life, especially in things we conservatives and liberals disagree on, particularly when it pertains to capitalism and money and goods and services, etc., which is I fail to see why anyone on the right would think that a true free market system would be different than what we have now, or why it would truly drive costs down. Not because I don't understand it theoretically, and from a theoretical standpoint, capitalism does make sense. The concept that competing businesses in an attempt to get clients, customers, etc., drive their prices down. That, of course, makes sense to me. It's just never been the case. And if it ever was, it hasn't been in a very long time. And time again, we have companies gouging the living shit out of every single person they interact with, whether that's a customer or an employee. So this concept that if we just had like perfect free market, it would all work out, which again, conceptually, I agree with. There's just no reason for me to believe that would be the case.
Well, okay. I think there's a misunderstanding too sometimes in what perfect free market even means. Like, and again, there are people on the right that believe in this sort of like super libertarian free market, which basically means like no laws, no restrictions on anything. Like, and to me that's a mistake as well. Like,
I didn't say that.
No, I didn't say you said that. I just said like that's often a common kind of misunderstanding. I mean, I don't know if there's a such thing as a perfect free market. I think we can optimize it by having the right amount of limited laws and regulations. Especially as it relates to something like healthcare, because you need you're not just selling widgets or whatever, right? Like it's about people's lives are at stake. So I mean there are ethical concerns to be thought of that go beyond just selling somebody license plates or whatever.
Sure, but if you're talking about we need to know what it costs for the institution, for us, that we need that transparency. That does not come from less laws.
I didn't say it came from less laws necessarily.
So different ones?
Yeah, we need laws. I think we probably need some kind of laws. And again, I'm not smart enough to know exactly how to go about this. But yeah, we need some kind of laws that would create a more transparent marketplace in healthcare.
Okay.
However,
Keep going. No, keep going.
Yeah. So I mean, it would be a great law to pass a law saying that healthcare providers they need to be aware of the cost of their services. They need to provide this cost, and there needs to be more healthcare providers that are able to circumvent the whole thing with the insurance companies, right? Like, I'm not saying insurance is bad. I'm not saying we shouldn't have insurance. I'm saying insurance in many cases, most of the time, is going to actually bring up the cost of things because they're just a middleman between you and the doctor. So I think the more we can minimize that middleman, so we don't have to pay, instead of paying the doctor and the insurance people and the paper pushers at the hospital that have to do all the paperwork in order to deal with the insurance companies. There's a whole bunch of middlemen we're paying for, right? So I'm saying
Dallas,
somehow,
Dallas,
yes,
you are totally in a rabbit hole. Or on a rabbit trail. Like,
he's the one that brought up healthcare. And
well, it was just
actually Robert did.
Yeah, it's just one. It's one example.
What I initially said was that conservatives don't care about X, Y, and Z, and then you went down on this. I did not bring up healthcare.
Like immigration would be another example. And I'm not trying to like say let's go down this rabbit trail, but I'm just saying like you don't care about immigrants as much as liberals. That's an easy example. You're clearly less empathetic, and I get what you're saying. You're like, well, we have empathy, is just in a different way. No, it's not a priority for you.
No, the issue isn't empathy. The issue is practicality.
Yeah. Newman, would you at least agree with that liberals are a little less practical?
I mean, if you're talking about liberals having like pie in the sky dreams, and then not having a way to finance or enforce those things that they want, then yeah, I will agree with that it's more difficult. I would also point to, in a very specific example, the wall to keep people out on the southern border that no one paid for, didn't help, and didn't happen.
Good point.
And actually, if I remember correctly, there were multiple like Kickstarters and a bunch of sketchily raised.
Yeah, who went to prison? Somebody went to prison for this.
There was a big one, and I can't remember what it was.
It was the Breitbart guy. What's his name, Dallas? You know what I'm talking about?
Andrew Breitbart, is it? Oh, Steve Bannon. Sorry,
Steve Bannon.
Yeah. He did a great debate. I thought it was in Ontario, and they did not put up with his shit. It was like, I think it was him versus I can't remember who he's debating, but he was arguing about populism and how we need to be aware of this problem of populism, even though, he was supporting Trump, who's a populist. But they laughed him right off that stage, like, not literally laughed about the stage, but they did not put up with this bullshit at all. But his point was valid, that populism is going to be a scourge and we better get on the train. But anyway, that's total side thing. But yeah, he went to prison, and then the guy that was running that website, and it's a hilarious website to go to if you guys haven't seen it, but it's still up, and it's like you can buy a brick and have your name on a brick, even though the wall's not made of bricks.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Oh, those right-wing people, I think even Dallas would agree, they are so fucking stupid. It is.
What's her name?
Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's who you're about to be.
No.
She is. We can agree she's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
A little kooky is pretty much the biggest understatement of all time. But yes, she's not ideal. No, there's another Millie Weaver. Do you know who Millie Weaver is?
No.
She's like a Laura Loomer type person. She got arrested on a live stream while she was streaming, and she was like, "The deep state's coming for me. They're coming to take me because
I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
because I have exposed the truth." And then what actually happened is she got arrested for assaulting and robbing her mother. But I
didn't know that.
Well, it wasn't. She got in a fight with her mom, and they tried to take her phone. And I don't know if I'd call the cops on my own kid for that and call it an assault and a robbery, but neither here nor there. But then in the intervening time between her arrest and her live stream saying the deep state, and then when it came out that she was arrested for assault and robbery, she started a Kickstarter, a GoFundMe that raised $170,000 for her legal fees to fight the deep state. And under whatever crowdsourcing body she used, she did not have to give back the money because it was technically for legal fees, even though the crime was different than what she purported it to be.
Well, she's not done. She's still doing crazy stuff. Did you see her at that Board of Education thing?
No, I did not.
Hold on. This is so worth it.
All right. Well, I'm just thankful that y'all don't have the ability to make a mask mandate. And tonight I was going to talk about for a second high school, but I was sidetracked by, for the boys, pussy or the idea of pussy or the idea of pussy. A Mexican is a Mexican is a Mexican. Take her out back, we boys figured, then hand on the titties. Put it in her coin box, put it in her cornhole.
What the fuck?
What is that?
Is this a school board meeting?
Yeah.
The book called Out of Darkness, which you can find at Hudson Bend Middle School and Bee Cave Middle School. All right, not gonna lie, I had to Google cornhole because I have a game in the back of my yard.
What is she talking about?
Okay, hold on. I gotta.
Cornhole is a sexualist slang vulgarism for
She's saying. She's reading these words from a book that she found in the school library that had a bunch of dirty stuff in it, and she's complaining that this is the pedophile crap that we're giving kids. Hold on, here she is.
I mean, well, she's right there, you know.
I've never had anal sex. I don't want to have anal sex. I don't want my kids having anal sex.
Oh my God!
Focusing on education and not public health.
They turned her mic off. That little beeping was like a timer.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, she's fucking crazy. That's your ilk, Dallas. That's your people.
Oh my God.
Well, what was she was commenting on? I'm trying to get the context here. So she was commenting on something that was in a either a library book or a text that was being read in schools. Like,
it was a school library book.
Yeah, okay. and it had dirty stuff. And it shouldn't have been in their library for sure. If it's got stuff like, I don't know what she was talking about, cornholing people and slapping pussies and whatever. Like, I get it. That's adult content shouldn't be there. But there seems to be something weird with you guys in education for sure, Dallas.
Well, let's just take the example. We can use lots of examples, but given the example that you just provided, it sounds like whether she's kooky or not, it sounds like her general point is pretty valid. It's like, hey, let's not have this.
Right.
Let's not have this in our library or in our school for whatever. I don't know what age these kids are like, but I mean that may be relevant information.
But I'm not talking about her in particular. We would agree there. I'm just saying, like, generally that's a right wing thing. You guys are often anti-education.
No, that's another straw man. Like, stop it, Robert. You're
Well, I mean, generally, we're not saying every single person. Obviously, not every single liberal is an annoying, woke, purple-haired person screaming in your face. But if you were to say liberals generally are like pretty annoying with their bullshit, I would go, yeah, I'll give you that.
I'll agree with
that. we're an annoying bunch. And you guys generally are anti-educated. You're all against the CRT.
No.
You're always against teachers getting pay. You're often against anything that comes out of colleges. Those colleges are ruining people. No, they're turning people more liberal because you're getting more educated.
No, that's not the critique. Like, whether you agree with the critique that we seem to levy towards that is a different issue. But like, no, the issue isn't that we're against education. It's we're against certain things that are going on in the educational system that we, again, for right or wrong, we can argue about that we at least perceive as being not correct, not actually education, as
like evolution.
No, I have no problem with evolution.
Tennessee passed a law in 2012 stating that the teaching of some scientific subjects, including evolution, can cause controversy and that teachers can help students understand, analyze, and critique existing scientific theories. Critics say that the law could enable the teaching of creationism. Dallas, your rebuttal?
Yeah, I'm not saying there aren't some people on the right that are against evolution. Like, I think you're maybe overstating the fact that most people on the right are. Yes, I do concede that there are some people on the right that are completely against the teaching of evolution in school.
Well, that's anti-education. Hello?
Yeah,
that's anti-education.
Okay, maybe in that example, sure.
I mean, it is. It just is. And there's a laundry list of other things in education and academia that are being pushed down by the right. It's all over the place. And to say that, I think to say that conservatives are anti-education is a little unfair because obviously you want your children going to schools and learning. I think more accurately, the claim would be that conservatives are anti not their education.
Mm-hmm.
Well, y'all are anti not your education too.
Sure.
In many sense, like it's like there's often a disagreement on. And two, here's another thing. I think with the evolution issue as well. While you bring it up, part of it too is what parents think the education system should or shouldn't focus on, and sometimes there's a disagreement on how much focus there should be on certain things versus other things, and that's partially an area where we disagree. Like the conservatives believe there should be more focus on X, and y'all think there should be more focus on Y, and that's maybe a reasonable disagreement and argument to have. But I think oftentimes that's a major component of what we're dealing with too.
I don't really understand what you're trying to say. I mean,
I was confused too.
If you're saying that conservatives want more of a focus on like American history, sure, that's true. They also want more of a focus on American history that neglects to mention a lot of really, 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 really important parts of American history. And I've sent you many, many, many articles about this, and you never read any of them.
That's not right.
Well,
I read some of them. I can't read everything you send me because you send me a lot of shit.
Sure. There was we were talking about the new law and tech bill in Texas they were trying to pass.
The abortion one?
No. A few months ago about
kind of anti-CRT thing.
Yeah.
That's what Florida did.
Yeah, I mean Florida's the best.
But yeah, Dallas. Clearly,
if I may, real quick, they were trying to pass this essentially anti-CRT bill, which is already just insane. It's like the right's ability to build a boogeyman off that is just incredible. Their marketing is amazing, and they should be applauded. But Dallas challenged that there was no history of Texas specifically trying to quash things in American education that they didn't like. And there was an article about it was a textbook amendment in like 2007 or 8 that was so bad that even like the Cato Institute or something was like, this is an affront to the understanding of American history.
We're horrible with our textbooks. And it used to apply for the entire country because it used to be, and this is very recent, it was about 2 years ago, up till about 2 years ago, I'll say it that way, the rest of the country based their textbooks off of Texas. And our textbooks were so backwards, man. And this is what we're talking about, Dallas. This is that conservative stuff with education. It had stuff in there that they wanted to remove a lot of the content about Native Americans, a lot of the content about slavery. They wanted to put in that the founding fathers got their morals from the Ten Commandments. They wanted to add in something about Noah's flood.
Somewhat true.
Dallas, damn it. You get that's propaganda, right? Like that's Christian right-wing propaganda, though.
No, it's not.
Okay, it is, but that's fine. Keep going.
No, it's not. Just
How is
because
it not?
Just because you're ignorant of what the founding fathers believed in terms of their belief structures, like doesn't make it propaganda.
Okay, if they were Muslim, and then there was a another religious faction of the right? Let's say we've got more than just two parties, okay? And this other group was pro-Muslim. They wanted everyone to be Muslim, and then they wanted it put in your history book that the founding fathers based all of their morals off of the Quran. And let's say that some of them did. Let's say that part of our culture came from that to some degree. Would you at least accept that they are trying to propagandize children to try to make them become Muslims?
Well, it's either true or it's not. Like I'm not interested in propaganda. Yes, there's lots of propaganda that
people
runs
that
through.
listen to propaganda are usually not aware that they're listening to propaganda.
Yeah, okay, that's probably true. Yeah.
And
sure,
if you asked someone who liked propaganda, they probably would. If they liked propaganda, they probably would say no, of course not.
Yeah. Well, whether I'm not exactly sure what you're getting at, because something's either true or it isn't true, and you determine that not just by insulating yourself in your little bubble. Like, you have to kind of escape that, and we live in this crazy time where it's hard to know what's true about anything anymore.
Not really.
Robert, what do you think? Like, there's a whole lot of propaganda and bullshit going around everywhere on all sides.
Both sides, for sure.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's my point. Like,
but here's the truth. Here's a scientific truth. The COVID vaccine protects you against COVID.
Yeah, I don't know too many people who argue against that. There are maybe some here and there, but
really, it seems like it's maybe
people.
like 40% of the country.
Based on what? Based on the fact that maybe there's a significant percentage of the country are hesitant of getting the vaccine, because that's not the same thing as thinking the vaccine doesn't work or is going to turn you into a walrus or whatever.
So you believe the vaccine works and that it would save lives, but for whatever reason you don't want to take it.
I didn't say I didn't want to take it.
I'm not saying you. I don't mean you, Dallas. I mean you, the royal you, conservatives, people that don't want to take the vaccine. So you believe it works, you believe it's safe, but you're making the choice not to take it.
Yeah, it's a free country. People are allowed to make whatever choices they want based on their own assessment.
What's their assessment? If it's functional and safe, it's like an anti authority thing. Are you in high school? Where it's like, well, you told me to, so now I don't want to. Because what that sounds like is selfishness and a lack of empathy. And you're getting away from the thing initially I said, which is that is true. The vaccine protects you against COVID. That's true. And there's a lot of people on your side who don't want to believe it or don't want to accept it or don't want to acknowledge it or don't.
Well, I would imagine, and I haven't seen these numbers exactly, but the general anti-vax movement before this was more a left-leaning movement. So wouldn't we reasonably have to assume that there's plenty of people on the left as well as the right who are for whatever reason either not willing to get the vaccine or hesitant to get it or whatever? I mean, isn't that a reasonable conclusion to come to as well?
That's interesting.
For sure. I think I know people on the left who aren't getting it, and the QAnon anti-vax gang, their decision to market towards like leftist woo-woo crystal new age people is genius, because it's a very similar what's the word I'm looking for? It's a similar demographic in terms of beliefs. And so now you have all these left-leaning people in California and wherever that are like, oh no, my body will just heal me. I'm an idiot. I don't know anything about science. That's true. There are people on the left.
Wow, I didn't know about that.
Oh, that's a huge thing. It's a problem.
Well, we could at least say the right-wing politicians, for sure. They're getting the vaccine and then telling people not to get it. or telling people, you don't need to get it.
This is what I was going to say, that yes, Dallas, there are people on the left who don't want the vaccine, just as there are people on the right who got it and know that they should have, and it's fucking crazy to not get it. But if you're trying to obfuscate the argument by saying that, oh, well, there's all these people on the left, well, no, it's very, very obvious that the majority of that rhetoric is coming from the right, not only from conservative voting people, constituents, civilians, but in conservative media and multiple tiers of politicians.
Well, I think a lot of the rhetoric on the right that you're referring to, I think it's mostly a lot of, and again, you can call this high school drama or whatever. I mean, that's fine, but it's mostly a concern about the cram down of it, the forcing people to get it. And you can say whatever you want about that, but I think that's what most of the pushback is coming from. Like it's not a lot of, and I listen to and follow most of the primary voices on the right that are prominent. Like almost none of them that I can think of are against the vaccine. Most of these people have gotten the vaccine. What they're more against is this cram down. That's you're going to get it because I'm your boss or we're the government, and it's like that's what most of the pushback is.
Yeah, that's propaganda.
It's not. What's propaganda?
That is propaganda.
What specifically? Like
if
what
I'm
part
Tucker,
of what I just said?
If I'm Tucker Carlson and I have gotten the vaccine, fucking duh. And the company I work for, Fox News, it has vaccine mandates, which they fucking do because they're a gigantic corporation. No fucking duh. And then I'm telling people that are you an American? Because in America, we're free. And now the Biden administration thinks they can tell you what to put in your body. Well, that doesn't sound like America. That sounds like the Nazis. You need to fight for your freedom because that's what's at stake here. Your freedom. So decide which line you want to be on.
It is a liberty. It is a liberty issue.
Hold on. You just made Dallas's dick so hard. Just that little rant you did, which was spot on, by the way.
Thank you. My point is that he's making an argument that he himself does not abide by,
right? Because
he knows that it's something that he has to do and should do to protect himself, his family, his coworkers, anyone around him.
Oh, wait. Whether or not he chooses of his own volition is what you're bringing up is a total non sequitur. Like the issue of do I want to get the vaccine and should I be forced to get the vaccine are two totally separate conversations.
Sure, I agree with you. I do not think any government should force anyone to put or do anything to put anything in or do anything to their body. I don't think they should. However, I don't think they should have to tell you that no fucking duh. You need to get a vaccine for a global pandemic, the likes of which has not been seen in 100 years.
Yeah,
700,000 Americans are dead. That's true. So if you want to talk about truth,
Dallas doesn't care.
Empathy, and you want to talk about propaganda, then look this shit in the face and answer for it. Because you're not. You want to talk about, well, it's about my freedom to choose. Well, sure, it is. But then you're choosing yourself and you've said you believe the vaccine works and you believe it's safe. You're choosing yourself over anyone else around you.
Well, okay, that's the propaganda argument right there. Because if the vaccine works, then if people who choose to get the vaccine, it works on them, and then the people who choose to not get it, they're taking on the risk of themselves, right?
Dallas, you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about or how a vaccine works. You do not.
You're an expert on vaccines?
Absolutely not. And one of the points I wanted to come on here and make is that I think a huge problem in our society, our civil discourse and our culture, is that everyone thinks they're an expert. And they're not. You're not. I'm not. Robert has, I believe, some expertise, having done this show and talked to so many people who are experts.
I work in pharma,
there you go.
But I have no idea about.
My point is, I am not an expert. However, I have the faith, belief, and I believe intelligence to put my faith in an expert. And I'm not saying that I know all the intricacies of a vaccine or whatever. I'm saying that what you just said is absolutely incorrect and misses a multitude of different points surrounding the issue.
No, there's one thing I'm certain of is that when any individual chooses to get a vaccine, that if that vaccine is going to work properly, it's going to protect you. And the people who don't get the vaccine, they are not going to be protected.
Are there any ramifications of allowing a large percentage of the population not to be vaccinated?
I didn't say whether or not there were or weren't other ramifications. I'm simply
what is
saying
your point?
what I just said is true.
Sure, except it's not. Because if you're saying
it's true and it's not true, what are you saying?
It's not true. I mean, I'm saying I see what you think you're saying, but it isn't true.
No, it is.
It's not. It's not.
So vaccines. Which part? Vaccines don't protect the person who gets it, or vaccines like what? What part is true?
So there's a bunch of different kinds of vaccines. What we used to do is we would just give a little bit of something to a horse, and then take the horse's blood out, and then mix that with whatever way to get it in your body that we can for your body. The FDA didn't like putting horse blood in people. So most vaccines after that were giving you a little bit of a virus, a very small amount. Like the flu, like a lot of people will claim that they're getting the flu from the flu vaccine, but that's actually impossible. But what they may be doing is that, their body has been exhausted by dealing with the vaccine, and then another flu virus, another strain hits them. That's a possibility. And so in that sense, you might say that it was a culprit. But with this one, this mRNA, it's just trying to mimic what the COVID virus looks like so that your body can understand it. And then once it does, it has a better chance of fighting it. But no, if you get the vaccine, that doesn't mean you won't get COVID, but it's going to improve your chances of fighting it. It's the best we can do for right now, Dallas.
Right. I don't disagree with any of what you just said at all.
So why shouldn't people get the vaccine? We obviously, it's a pragmatic thing.
I'm not arguing whether they should or shouldn't. Like, people probably should. Okay. Like, I've never argued you shouldn't get the vaccine. That's never been my position ever.
Oh.
No, if you choose to get the vaccine, that protects you. If someone else chooses to not get the vaccine, they are choosing to not be protected. So that's their problem.
But it's not their problem.
But it is their problem, because they're the ones that are taking on the risk by not getting the vaccine.
Dallas, I understand that. And if it was a one-to-one thing where, like, if I got COVID, I could not spread it to anyone else, you would be correct. That is not the case. So when someone who's unvaccinated stays unvaccinated, they not only allow for the virus to mutate, which can then make the previous vaccinated people be susceptible again to a newer, more virulent, more dangerous, more transmissible strain, they are also allowing it to multiply and put other people around them in risk, their family, their friends, their coworkers, people that are immunocompromised, people that can't get the vaccine for medical reasons. So to say it's a one-to-one thing is just completely false, or to present it as such. And I've seen this argument in stupid fucking memes from the right this whole time, which is like, oh, well, so I can't eat a Big Mac because it gives me heart disease? Well, heart disease isn't fucking airborne and contagious. I saw one recently that was like, it was drawing a cartoon of someone at a beach, and it said, oh, the CDC said we all have to wear sunscreen so that people next to us don't get burned. And like, are you fucking brain dead? Sunburns aren't contagious. What the fuck? It's a total false equivalence. So to say that the unvaccinated person is taking on the risk, they're taking it on for themselves, but they're also multiplying it for everyone else. That's true. Deal with that shit.
Right. Fair enough. I agree that there's that potential to happen.
No, it's not a potential. It's not a potential. It is happening.
You're just arguing over semantics of words now.
Well, which is something that you love to do. But
no. This is something that I criticize you about doing all the time.
I'm aware. You criticize people for doing things that you do every single day. That's not what I'm here to argue. My point is...
I will give Dallas this credit. He did agree with you on some points, didn't he? He agreed with you about the vaccine, not about... And you agreed with him. You guys found some common ground here. You agree with him that you don't think that it should be forced by the government. I'm guessing you're referring to Biden's...
There's a caveat to that.
Right.
Which is, I don't think they should, but also they shouldn't have to. At all. It's obvious.
Well, Dallas and I were just talking before you joined us that this is actually it's not it's not unique to America. This is a worldwide thing. It's interesting. We like to think of it as right-wing Dallas type people, but really this is a human issue. This,
you're talking about anti-vax?
Yeah, about this vaccine in particular is the whole country.
Record, I am not anti-vax, just for the record.
Okay.
I think, yeah, it is. I mean, it's obviously all over the world. I think I'm pretty certain that it's focused here, like we're the kind of breeding ground for it. I think we have the most followers of that, whatever you want to call it. But I'm pretty certain that if you went around the world, often the people that were against it would probably be considered more right-wing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Than left-wing.
That's fair. So we could say it's not.
I know it's a huge problem in France.
what's your source? Like you want to talk about? So what's your source that says that that it's more of a right wing thing?
It's very sweet, Dallas. You're very cute. I actually didn't say this is true. I said I think.
Okay.
I didn't make a claim about what is to be true or what isn't.
But also, Dallas, wouldn't you agree?
Well, no, I already brought up reasons to think why that is potentially a questionable assumption.
Hold on.
It's not, but keep going.
You're saying that you don't agree that most people against getting the COVID vaccine are more conservative than liberal. You're saying that you don't live in that reality where that's what is going on.
I thought we already agreed that there were plenty of left-wingers. In fact, the whole anti-vax thing before.
Can you answer my question?
Was primarily. I am answering your question. It's primarily a left-wing phenomenon. So to just assume that it's primarily a right-wing thing, I'm not going to jump to that conclusion because I'm not sure that that's correct.
What do you think?
Which governors have which governors have supported getting the vaccine and which haven't? Because I think there might be a pretty easy, maybe perhaps a colorized map of that statistic.
Well, let me explain something to you. The Republican and conservative governors, the reason why they don't push this is because conservatives generally, for right or wrong, we prioritize on our values hierarchy.
That's not what we're talking about.
People's freedom of choice. Yes, that's exactly what the issue is. It's about freedom of choice.
You're making our point for us. You're arguing for the point that most of the anti-COVID vax people are on the right. And
you're conflating the issue. Whether somebody is anti-vax getting the vaccine and whether somebody is anti-government forcing people to get it are two separate issues.
Yeah, they are, but whether they're two separate issues or not, you're ignoring the fact that you're making the argument for us. The people that are against that mandate, they're going to be more on the right also. And they are also going to be against the vax.
Emphasis on mandate. Yes, I'm very aware that we are very much more against any kind of mandate. Yeah.
Do you believe that the question that I asked you was about the mandate?
You were asking me which side do you think is more anti-vax? I think.
Right. So why the fuck are we talking about the mandate? My question was, don't you agree with him that more people on the right are anti-COVID vax? And his point was, well, the politicians are. Can you at least give them that much? And then you went off on this thing. You can just look at the states. Like your state was 44%. Texas was 50%. Like you can see whether it's a red or blue state, whether or not it's more vaccinated.
Okay. I haven't looked at that. You may be right.
No, he is right. He is right.
Dallas, you just saw it. I just showed it to you earlier.
I've glanced at it.
Dallas, come on, man. Are you kidding me?
What? What's your problem?
You're pretending like you don't know the news, and I know you know. It's like this is not what me and Robert are saying about red states or blue states being more vaccinated is not. There's no contention there. That's just true. So if you want to make the claim that we have no idea who's more anti-vax, the left or the right, we do. It's very obvious. And saying that there are a number of liberals that are anti-vax, or there's a significant amount of liberals that are anti-vax. Those are both true, but that does not mean the majority of anti-vaxxers are liberal at all. And when you have the governor of states whose hospitals are overflowing and rationing care in conservative states, and the governors are still going like, it's your freedom, it's your right to choose, it's this. How can you sit there and argue that conservatives aren't the more anti-vax demographic? Well, it's completely bad faith.
Well, no, because I haven't assessed these numbers. Maybe y'all have. I haven't done a deep dive on it.
Okay, well then don't make a claim for something you haven't researched.
No, I didn't make a claim. My only claim was I don't know whether or not that assessment is true. Maybe it is true.
Okay.
It's like you're purposefully blindfolding yourself. It's like you don't want to see this information for yourself. You don't want to accept it. But it doesn't hurt your argument one way or the other. It's just a fact.
Right.
And as Newman pointed out, that's a good point. It's a worldwide issue for right-wing people. Now you might be right. Maybe in other countries, more left-wing people are against it. I don't know. But
yeah. I mean, it's a complicated thing to jump to, right? To jump to that conclusion. And I don't personally. I mean, I find it mostly mostly unimportant. I mean, I guess it is fair to understand, where the problem's coming from. I mean, but yeah, I mean, look, I can see y'all maybe you're right that there is a higher percentage of right-wing people who are hesitant to get this particular vaccine, not necessarily that they're anti-vax, which is a separate issue. Yeah, okay.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate it. You did have some common ground. I think it was a much more polite conversation than I would have expected from the two of you, and I think that's good. No. I think it's a good thing. Everybody can find Dallas's book. What was the title again, Dallas?
How to Win Every Debate as a Conservative. You can find my music projects online. Well, you can just do me search my name on search engines and figure that out.
Yeah, I'll have that link in the show notes. Newman, thank you.
Thank you. I wish we could have spoken longer.
Thank you to Dallas and Newman. Dallas, you were a good sport, man. Thank you to Dave Blair at DaveBlairMusic.com. Thank you to Feedspot.com for promoting the Right to Reason to the top 10 atheist podcasts. Thank you to our patrons, Jason Parker, Freethinker 215, Alan Marks, Philip Spall, and Bernard Lamberell, Enema Man, Larry Wilson, Brittany Catherman, Catherine Class, and our top supporter, Rob Montgomery. You can support this broadcast at patreon.com/right and learn more at therighttoreason.com. Be the 10th person to name the movie of the score that played throughout today's episode, and I'll send you a Right to Reason coffee mug. All you have to do is go to therighttoreason.com and click on Contact. Name today's movie music. I'll respond asking for a physical address, and you'll get a free Right to Reason coffee mug. I'll even pay shipping. Next week, Andrew Hall, Kevin Francis, Michael Moore, and Brent Lee join us to laugh at Christian movie trailers. Between now and then, remember that you have the right to reason.
This is the Right to Reason podcast.